Interesting facts about famous people.
US Cavalry Westerns of the 1960s. Today I'm responding to a viewer's suggestion. I'm making a video on Cavalry Westerns. However, there are way too many to put in one video, so I have narrowed this video down to the 60s. Let me know if I've left any out in the comments. If you enjoy this video, take a peek at my channel for more. The link's in the description. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to share with your friends, especially the younger generation. The more the merrier. Sergeant Rutledge, 1960. Black Cavalry Sergeant Rutledge stands court-martial for raping and killing a white woman and murdering her father. Not happy with Woody Strode's rehearsal of bullet-wounded drowsiness, director John Ford took his own steps. The day before the scene was shot, Ford got Strode drunk early in the day and had an assistant follow him around for the rest of the day to make sure he stayed that way. When Strode shot the scene, his hangover gave him the perfect appearance of a man who had been shot. Two rode together, 1961. The US Army is under pressure from the relatives of prisoners of the Comanches to secure their rescue. A corrupt marshal, Guthrie McCabe, is convinced to help negotiate with the Comanches. Just 2 captives are released. Reintegration into white society proves highly problematic. Richard Whitmark said he had more fun on this film than any other. I'm a little deaf in this ear, and John Ford's a little deaf in the other, and James Stewart's hard of hearing in both. So all through the picture, all 3 of us were going, what? A Thunder of Drums, 1961. Captain Maddox will never be promoted above captain because of a mistake that he made. Lieutenant McQuaid is a rookie who is now under the command of the captain, and he does not seem to be able to do anything right. Lieutenant McQuaid also has trouble with Tracy, but it will be the Indians that will teach him the importance of following orders. Many found it odd that a film with such a solid cast, writer and director, and with 3 up-and-comers like George Hamilton, Richard Chamberlain, and the rocker Dwayne Eddy, was such a failure. Sergeants 3, 1962. Under suspicious circumstances, the telegraph line is out in Medicine Bend, a town in 1870s Indian Territory. To investigate the mystery, US Cavalry First Sergeant Mike Merry assembles a detail and proceeds to the town, along with Sergeant Chip Deal and Sergeant Larry Barrett. They cross paths with the trumpet-playing former slave, Jonah Williams, who joins in, dreaming of becoming a trooper. Now, against the backdrop of the picturesque landscapes of the Wild West, a conspiracy is afoot, as no Sioux are on the warpath. Who is behind the Medicine Bend incident? Cheyenne Autumn, 1964. When the government agency fails to deliver meagre supplies due by treaty to the proud Cheyenne tribe in their barren desert reserve, the starving Indians have taken more abuse than it's worth, and break it too, by starting on a 1,500-mile journey back to their ancestral land. US Cavalry Captain Thomas Archer is charged with their retrieval, but Hunt grows to respect their noble courage and decides to help them. A Distant Trumpet, 1964. Lieutenant Hazard, fresh out of West Point, arrives in Arizona Territory at Fort Delivery. Appalled by the lax discipline, he restricts privileges and subjects them to arduous drills. Meanwhile, he finds himself falling in love with Kitty, the wife of his commanding officer. This romance is complicated when his fiancée, from back east, decides to pay a visit. Troubles with the local Indians, however, force Hazard to concentrate on his duties, which conflict with his sympathies for the Indians. This was the final film directed by Raoul Walsh before his death on December 31, 1980, at the age of 93. Advance to the rear, 1964. During the American Civil War, a company of Union infantrymen, commanded by Colonel Claude Brackenbury, receives an order to attack Confederate positions. Due to a mishap, the colonel's horse stampedes towards the rear of the front. The confused soldiers follow their colonel in a rush. This is seen by the consequent Board of Inquiry as plain cowardice. Colonel Brackenbury is demoted to the rank of captain, and his executive officer, Captain Jared Heath, is demoted to the rank of lieutenant. As further punishment, Brackenbury and Heath, together with a few of their NCOs, are transferred west to Fort Hooker, where they are to take charge of a company of misfits and rejects. Major Dundee, 1965. During the last winter of the Civil War, cavalry officer Amos Dundee leads a contentious troop of Army regulars, Confederate prisoners, and scouts on an expedition into Mexico to destroy a band of Apaches who have been raiding US bases in Texas. Charlton Heston famously did not get along with Richard Harris, who frequently stayed up drinking to the early hours and was often late on set. Harris described Heston as being so square that he must have fallen from a cubic moon. The Great Sioux Massacre, 1965. A look at what happened to Custer and his troops at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Custer, an outspoken advocate in fair treatment for the Indians, is ousted from his post and forced into retirement. Fueled by ambition, when a senator convinces him to run for president, Custer decides to upstage General Terry at Little Bighorn. Throughout the movie, the name of Custer's subordinate is incorrectly being pronounced as Benton, when his name is actually Benteen. The Hallelujah Trail, 1965. A wagon train heads for Denver with a cargo of whiskey for the miners. Chaos ensues as the Temperance League, the US cavalry, the miners, and the local Indians all tried to take control of the valuable cargo. Stuntman Bill Williams was killed performing a stunt with a colleague during this shoot. The stunt called for Williams and another stuntman to guide a horse-drawn wagon toward a cliff. As the horses separated, both men were supposed to jump clear as the wagon continued over the cliff. Williams didn't manage to jump clear in time and died as a result of the fall. The Glory Guys, 1965. During the Sioux Wars, General Frederick McCabe's 3rd U.S. Cavalry Regiment recruits and trains men for the upcoming campaign against the Sioux. Captain Demis Harrod is in charge of D Troop. He's also in love with Lou Woodard, who lives in Mule City and is engaged to Sol Rogers, Chief of Scouts under General McCabe. She claims to be attracted to both men, which brings the two rivals into conflict that often ends up in fistfights. Sam Peckinpah later claimed that his screenplay had been ruined by the miscasting of all three of the leading cast members. Fort Courageous, 1965. An ex-cavalry sergeant, being escorted to prison after being convicted of a crime he didn't commit, finds himself leading the remnants of a unit that have been under Indian attack at a fort. The commanding officer has been killed. The Indians vastly outnumber them, and the only bargaining chip they have is the fact that they have captured the Indian chief's son. The film is a virtual scene-for-scene remake for Fort Bowie, 1958, and in fact, the battle scene that opens the film is lifted entirely from it. Alvarez Kelly, 1966. Suave former Texan cattleman Alvarez Kelly, now living in Mexico, has little interest in the Civil War except to make some money. But after a long drive to deliver cattle to the Union, he finds himself kidnapped by Confederate Colonel Tom Rossiter. With the hungry troops and civilians surrounded in Richmond by the Union Army, the colonel intends, one way or another, to persuade Kelly to help steal the herd and move it into town. Confederate money has no appeal, so the colonel resorts to other means, with unexpected results. Duel at Diablo, 1966. Lieutenant McAllister is ordered to transport several ammunition wagons to another fort through Apache territory, with only a small troop of rookie soldiers to guard them. Along for the ride is ex-scout Jesse Remsburg, who is trying to track down Ellen Grange, who, having recently been freed from Apache captivity, has mysteriously run off again to rejoin them. Remsburg frees Ellen again and leaves her with the embattled soldiers as he rides off to the fort, not only for help, but to find the man who killed and scalped his Indian wife. Savage Pampers, 1966. In charge of a small frontier garrison outpost in turn of the century Argentina, dominated by dangerous Indians and marauding gangs of bandits, Captain Martin finds himself with his back to the wall. On the one hand, the local Indian tribes are on the warpath. On the other hand, his mortal enemy, Padron, is enticing Martin's men with the only thing they are lacking and missing the most, the company of women. To turn the tables on Padron, Captain Martin makes a morale-boosting decision and enlists the help of a handful of prostitutes to hang out with the soldiers. A Time for Killing, 1967. During the Civil War, Confederate soldiers escape from a Union prison and head for the Mexican border. Along the way, they kill a Union courier who has a message that the war is over. Keeping the message a secret, the captain and his men go on, and they soon find themselves in a battle with a Union search party who is also unaware of the war's end. First credited film role of Harrison Ford. Custer of the West, 1967. The story of a US Army commander, George Armstrong Custer, a flamboyant hero of the Civil War, who later fought and was killed with his entire command by warring Sioux and Cheyenne tribes at the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876, originally to be directed by Akira Kurosawa, but he pulled out. Robert Ryan did his brief cameo for free. He was holidaying in Florence and did his 3 scenes in Madrid as a favour to producer Philip Yordan. After a considerable absence from the screen, Yordan had paid Ryan $150,000 for his role in Battle of the Bulge, 1965, and Ryan was extremely grateful. "40 Guns to Apache Pass, 1967. In 1868 Arizona, the Apaches, led by Cochise, are on a warpath, and US Army Captain Bruce Coburn is tasked with protecting settlers on their way to Apache Wells. A group of undisciplined soldiers, led by Corporal Bodine, make Coburn's task more difficult. When they're sent after a shipment of repeating rifles, Bodine and 4 others steal the weapons and desert. Captain Coburn manages to return to Apache Wells, where he vows to capture Bodine and his fellow deserters. Meanwhile, Bodine meets Cochise to negotiate the sale of the stolen repeating rifles without knowing that Captain Coburn has recovered the stolen weapons and has killed the other deserters. Chukka, 1967. While Indians besiege a US Army fort in 1876, residents of the fort, a gunfighter, a stagecoach driver, 2 Mexican women, and a motley company of soldiers tried to come to terms with their pasts. Was the British Army really in the Sudan before 1876, as Mills and Borgnine were supposed to be? Don't think so. Just to end the video, something about me and the channel. As a long-time Western fan, I am making this channel as a labour of love. It's not my job. I'm not an expert or film critic by anyone's metric. I make these videos as much for myself as for you guys. Thank you for all the positive feedback I have been getting. For those of you who only see the mistakes I make, I apologise. I have no staff or resources other than myself, so mistakes will happen. Just so you know, I'm doing my best. I love to see your comments. I do read them and take what you say, and it does influence what I do. As I often say, let's celebrate the genre and have fun. Let's keep the genre alive. Share with the younger generation. The messages and values in Westerns are needed more today than ever before. A warm welcome to any new viewers. Thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate your likes and subscribers. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to get my new videos. Share with your friends. Drop me your comments. Bye for now. See you again soon.
Interesting facts about famous people.